Hi everyone, this is Alp Actiniz with the FP and Automation team. Today we have another exciting Power BI video for you here, where we are going to be talking about dynamic row-level security for multi-level organizational hierarchies. Now, let's put together a scenario that you may have come across, or maybe you are about to come across. You have a vice president who has to see all of the financials for every organization within your company. You also have a regional manager who isn't supposed to see all the organizations, but is only supposed to see certain regions. In this case, the EMEA North and the EMEA South financials for the EMEA North and the EMEA South region. And then we have our two analysts right here. One analyst who is in charge of the USA financials, and they're only going to be required to see the USA organization financials only. And finally, the UK analyst, who is in charge to only see the UK financials only. They cannot see any other organization. Now, the wrench in this situation is your boss or your client, depending if you're a consultant, doesn't want you to create a row-level security table that has every combination of organizations for each individual that they should have access to. They want to have a very, very small table where the VP has one row, can see everything. The regional manager just has those two regions that they can see, and then the analysts just have the organization they can see. So trying to keep the rows as minimum as possible on the row-level security table. And finally, the other thing we also have to consider is we don't want to have a situation where we have to create multiple different roles, because there can be any sort of combination of role that an individual within the organization can have from a security standpoint. So the question is, how do we actually create this type of dynamic row-level security where we can handle any sort of multi-level organizational hierarchy? Well, that's exactly what we're going to show you in this tutorial. So what I'm going to do before I actually get into the build out of this, I want to show you a build out that can really work for this type of situation. What we've done is we've created an Excel file. I'll zoom in a bit. And on this Excel file, we're right now looking at a couple different individuals, which are similar to the situation / problem that we had presented to you before. We have 4 individuals. Each of them have different levels. This person is a VP. This person is a regional director. And then these 2 individuals are analysts. And what we've done is we've created a column called the org security hierarchy level. And this is going to be a key column here, because this is going to be how we're going to dictate what organizational keys are going to be associated with this individual. So for this person right here, they're going to have all access to every organization. And then for this individual right here, they're going to have region level access. And then they're going to be having access to just this region alone. And then these 2 individuals will only have access to one org, which in this case is USA and UK. So in a second, you're going to see our organizational table. You'll see how this is going to fit in. But this is going to be the table that we're going to be using for this exercise. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this table right here. And for this exercise, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the enter data option within Power BI, which is going to essentially create this table within the Power BI report itself. Now, again, you can use any sort of data source. You can use a SharePoint site, or if you have a database where you can maintain this table, it can live anywhere. But the idea is that you understand the structure of what the table needs to look like and how we're going to be able to accomplish this problem. So I'm going to go ahead here and hit the Enter Data button on the Home tab. That's going to allow me to create this table. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this, and you can see that everything got created. I'm going to go ahead and call this table RLS. And I'm going to go ahead and load this. And before I load it, I'm going to hit the Edit button. And what this is going to do is this is going to open up my secondary window, which is the Query Editor. Now within the Query Editor, I want to quickly show you the organizational table that we have in place. So notice right here that this org security value column, this is really going to be what we're going to use to determine what organizations each individual has access to. And if we look at our organizations right here, these are the list of organizations. So we can see the countries, and we can see the USA and the UK, for example. So again, it's our organization table that's connected to our financial information. And then we also have a region column showing the regions that these organizations roll up into. And the problem is they're on 2 separate columns. So we need a way to be able to make sure that each individual has access to the appropriate organization in the minimal way possible. And the way we're going to accomplish this is using the query editor within Power BI. So the query editor is going to allow us to build the steps to actually do this. So our first step that we're going to do is we're going to create each possible level that we're going to need for our organizational level hierarchy, row level security that we need. So in my case right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start off by going to the add column section right here. And the first thing we want to accomplish is figuring out how we can ensure that this person has access to every organization. And the way we can do that is by creating a custom column. Now, within the custom column right here, what's going to happen is I'm going to have a pop-up window come up here. And I'm going to call this the all level role. And within here, in the custom formula, what's really great about this is right now we can only access the columns on this table. But what's great about this is Power BI's query editor has a language called M, and it has IntelliSense. Basically what that means is when we type something, something's going to pop up. So if I actually type in organization, notice that this word right here pops up, organization. And this is actually our organization table. So when we click on this right here and we type this in and hit OK, this is actually going to produce a column which is going to have a table right here containing all of our different organization keys and all the respective columns. This is going to come in handy later when we get to the final column right here, but you can already see that since we have access to every organization key, whenever we see a person that has the all access hierarchy level role, we're going to go ahead and assign them to every organization. Now for the next rule, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Home tab. And in here, we're going to go to the Merge Query section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Merge Queries. And this is essentially almost like doing a VLOOKUP. So you're going to go ahead and look up a certain value on a secondary table and then return some row or some set of rows that you need to return. So in my case right here, I'm going to go ahead and select the organization table. And this is going to be our region level access. So what we're going to do is we're going to select that region level column right here. And then we're going to also select the region column here. And we're going to see that we got 1 out of 4 matches. So now when I do this, I can go ahead and hit OK. And let's go ahead and name this column to region level role. And notice here that if I look, there's nothing here, but for the region level individual, we're now getting all of the regions they have access to. So in this case, this person has access to the EMEA North region, again, based on their region level access, and now we're returning all the organizations that roll up into that region. Finally, we have our last role, which is going to be the organizational level role. That's the lowest level of detail, which is our organizational key in this case. And all we have to do is do a similar join or merge queries operation. And in this case, instead of pointing to the region column, we're going to point to the country column. And now we get 2 out of 4 matches. So when I hit OK right here, this is going to do what's called a left outer join and bring on all the rows that matched that on the first table return to match on the second table. And now when I hit OK right here, notice that these two individuals, the analysts, right, have returned one line, which is the organization that they roll up into. So now we have all of our different levels, and I'll go ahead and call this the organization level role. So now our final step is going to be to actually create our final column, which is going to determine which actual column we want to use to determine the organizations the user has access to. So what we can do here is we can go to the add column role in the query editor. And then if I go to conditional column, I can now write a condition where, and we'll call this the org key for RLS, and RLS stands for row level security. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we are going to go down and we're going to go and find our role or our org security hierarchy level. And after getting that, we're going to say that if this is equal to all access, then we're going to change this from an actual value to a column. We're going to say that this is going to be equal to the all level role column, which is really a table. And then we're going to create 2 more rules or conditions. And for these ones, we're going to say that the org security hierarchy level is equal to region. And if it is, we're going to go ahead and select the column here and set this equal to the region level role. that's going to return whatever values were returned from here. And then finally, we're going to choose this one right here, which is going to be, if this is equal to organization, then we're going to go ahead and select the organizational level role. So now we have each role accounted for thanks to the column that we created on our role level security table, which allows us to dictate what role this individual is. So now when I hit OK right here, this is going to go ahead now and give us all the different organizations or organization keys that this individual has access to. Same thing for this one, same thing for this one, and finally, same thing for this one. Now what I can do is I can remove everything I don't need. So I'm going to remove the first three. And now I'm going to expand this. And the one that I really need is just the organization key, because that's going to be our key column we're going to connect to our organizational table to actually build our dynamic role level security. So I'm going to go ahead and check this off right here and hit OK. And now you can see that this creates a bunch of different rows for each individual that they have access to. So on the original table, I'm going to flash that up for a second. You can see that we're only maintaining 4 different rows right here. And again, there could be multiple rows, maybe for this region director that has access to multiple regions. But the idea here is that you can maintain any combination of rows at a minimum and then use this sort of logic to determine what organizations that individual has access to depending on their level. So this can be 3 different levels, 4, 5, it can be endless different levels. It's all depending on your organization. So now you can see that our VP, or our highest level access, which has access to all the different financial information, can see every organization right here. So we returned every organization. This individual only sees these 3 because they only have access to 1 region. And then these individuals only returned 1 organization because they have access to 1 organization's financials. So once we have this done, once we have created our RLS table, we can go ahead and hit close and apply. And now what this is going to do is this is going to go ahead and bring in that table to Power BI. Now, once this table is brought into Power BI, we're now ready for our second step, which is to data model or to set up our data model in a way where we can facilitate dynamic role level security. So we've done the hard part of setting up the roles and creating our role level security table in a way where we can facilitate any role of any individual and the access that they have on the data. And now we got to build the data model. So within Power BI, and you can see that my role level security table is here, we can go to the data model view. And within this model view right here, I have a small table view right here, which is just a set of tables that are built for our financials. So we have a transaction table, that's our fact table, and then we have our dimension tables on the top right here. And the key one we're going to pay attention to is the organization table. This is going to be the way we're going to create the role level security. So what I can do is I can drag in my role level security table right here, and now it drags it into this data model view. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this for a second, and our goal is going to be to set up role level security. So our goal right here is to connect this organization key to the organization key of the organization table. And by doing so, what this is going to do is this is going to create a one-to-many relationship, where by creating this relationship, this is going to allow us to be able to match the correct organization keys from the RLS table to the organization key of our organization table. Now, one thing that's missing here is the flow of the relationship. What's going to happen right here is our role level security is not going to work until we change the filter direction of our one-to-many relationship. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click right here, and this is going to open up a window. And I'm going to just go ahead and put this a little bit more down right here. And the thing that we want to change right here is we want to change the cross filter direction to both. And then we want to check off something called apply security filter in both directions. When we check this off and then hit OK, what this is going to do is this is going to change the arrows right here. So notice that the arrows now are pointing both up to the RLS table and down to the organization table. What this means is that the filtering can flow both directions. And what that means here is that when an individual, based on their email, comes into the Power BI report, this is going to filter down our table to just the organizations of that individual, and then filter down our financial data, which has our financial information on our transactions table, to only show the rows where the user has access to. So if the USA analyst comes in here and we recognize their email, the data will filter down to just the USA analyst information or the organization, and then filter down the transactions to only the ones that are related to that organization, USA. So we've set up the data model. Now we're ready for the next piece, which is going to be actually setting up the role, which is the dynamic row level security role, and then testing it out both in Power BI Desktop and in Power BI Service. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to go to the time intelligence analytics view where we can actually test out this row level security. So before we can actually test it, we need to actually build it. So within the modeling view, this is where you can actually create your row level security. So you need to create your row level security first in Power BI Desktop before you can use it in Service where your users are going to consume the report. So within the modeling tab, we're going to go to manage roles right here. And within the roles right here, we're going to create one called org level RLS right here. So I went ahead already and created this role. And now what we need to do is we need to go to our RLS table right here. And by clicking on it, we need to first go ahead and switch this to a DAX editor view. So I'm going to go ahead and hit new right here. And you can already see that it's set the email equal to some sort of value. But we can't set it up this way. We actually need to use a formula right here. So what I need to do is I need to switch this to the DAX editor view. So if this was just a simple value, we can do that, but we need to create a DAX editor view right here. I got to get rid of this equal sign, and then what we need to do is type in something called user principal name. User principal name is a DAX measure that what it does is it recognizes the user that's signed into Power BI. So when the user is signed into Power BI, it's going to recognize their user principal name, which is their email address. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set that equal to our email column, which is going to be assigned to certain organizations, which is then going to filter down our data on our organization table to just the organization the user has access to, and the transactions just to the organizations of the transactions that relate to that organization. So it's a great, slick, and unique way to be able to facilitate dynamic row level security on multiple levels of hierarchies of our organization. Now, by hitting save right here, we can go ahead now and test this. Now, another thing that you can do is you can also hit this check mark to successfully apply the role change just to make sure that it's working correctly. In this case, we got a successful notification. If you get an error here, that means there's something wrong with your formula. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close this. And now what we can do is we can actually test this out. So we have a couple different individuals on here. Let's quickly go to that RLS table. We're going to test out all four of them. So we're going to test out Ishan, Alp, Khalid, and Josh. We'll start with Josh first, and then we'll make our way up to Ishan because Ishan has access to all the different organizations. So let's go ahead and let's flip back to the report view, and let's go to View As. Now, the way that you test dynamic row level security is you need to do two things. You need to check off the role that you created, and then you have to check off this option called Other User. And we actually have to type in the email of that user. So we're going to type in Josh at fpautomation.co. And pay attention to all the numbers here. When I hit OK, notice that the numbers are filtering down to just the organization Josh has access to. So in this case, it's UK. So now Josh can only see the UK information. So when Josh comes in here, he's only going to see the UK information, and he's only going to see the UK as an option for the filter for him to select. Now, I'm going to change the role right here, and let's do View As again. And now let's change this instead to Khalid. So Khalid has access to the USA organization. So when I change this to Khalid now, notice that the numbers are going to change. And now if I look at the organization, Khalid has access to only USA. Now let's go ahead and let's check Alp. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK right here. And notice that Alp has access to these three organizations. And these are the organizations that roll up into that region, EMEA North. So again, whatever region that individual has access to or regions are going to be the ones that they're going to see. And then finally, we have Ishan, who's our highest level and has access to everything. We want to make sure he has access to everything. And when we hit OK right here, we can see that Ishan has access to every organization. We're back to that original view right here, which is everything. So our row level security is working within Power BI Desktop. So we can stop viewing. We've tested. We now know that our row level security is working. We got our data model set up, and now we're actually ready to publish this report. So what we can do right here is we can make sure that we're signed into our account, and then we can hit the publish button and then publish it to the appropriate workspace. So I can go ahead and save this right here. And then after saving this, this is going to allow me to publish it to a particular workspace. So whatever that workspace name is, we can go ahead and publish it. And then once we have that published, we can go ahead and facilitate the row level security within Power BI. So now that I've done that right here, now that I went ahead and I've published it, let's now flash up to Power BI Service. I already have Power BI Service open right here, and I'm going to go ahead and drag that in, and I've published my report already. So when I'm in Power BI Service and I have loaded my report to the workspace or my workspace, wherever it's living, now what we can go ahead and do is we can go to Manage Access, and we can go ahead and add our users into this report right here. Now, one important thing to note when you're using row level security is you need to ensure that your users have viewer access or the row level security is not going to work. So what I can go ahead and do here is I can go ahead and add Khalid as a viewer. And let's go ahead and add Ishan as a viewer. And then I have myself already. For now, we'll just leave it at that. And now if I go ahead and hit add right here, this is going to add those two users as viewers. And you can see that they're now a part of this particular Power BI workspace where our report lives. Now I'm going to close this out, and within the report right here, I want to navigate to the semantic model. And within the semantic model, there are 3 dots right here. And again, there's multiple ways to get to this. And what you can do here is you can hit the security option. And within the security option, what this is going to do is this is going to allow you to add your users to the security role, and then of course test your users. So in order for your users to be able to actually access the Power BI dashboard, and it's important you do this with any viewer user, because if you don't do this, what's going to happen is if they're not assigned to a row level security role, they're going to get an error where they're not going to be able to see any data. So it's important you do this as a first step. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add myself, I'm going to add Khalid, and then I'm going to add Ishan, and then I'm going to hit add right here. And now these users have been assigned to that row level security group. And you can have as many row level security groups as you want. In this case, we only need 1 because it's going to be dynamic. And no matter the organizational hierarchy level that's required for each of these users, we're going to be able to handle each one of them thanks to Power Query Editor within Power BI, transforming the data to get it in a format where we can get everybody to the lowest level of detail and actually set up the row level security at the lowest level of detail grain for the organization. So what I can do here is I can hit 3 dots, and what this is going to allow me to do is this is going to allow me to test as role. Now when I hit this, this is going to allow me to see what the user is going to see. So it's a great little feature for you to test before you can actually assign people to that row level security role within your workspace. So what I can do right here is I can go ahead and in the down arrow right here where it says now viewing as org level RLS, I can go to the select a person, and then from here, I can go ahead and I can start to type in each individual. So let's start with Khalid. I'm going to go ahead and click on Khalid. We can see that here's the user principal name that will be recognized when Khalid logs in. So again, that's the email address. And when I hit apply right here, what this is going to do is this is going to now show me what Khalid's going to see when he comes in here. So notice it looks really familiar to Power BI Desktop. We're just doing an extra check just to make sure that this is all working accordingly. So within here, we can see that Khalid only has access to USA, which matches the role that we originally assigned to him. Now let's test out now. So how do we do that? Well, we go back to the select the role, and we go to select a person, and then we go and we type in that individual right here. And in this case, I'm going to test myself, and we can see here's the user principal name, and when we hit apply right here, this is going to be what Alp is going to see. So in order for, I just got to also check off the org level security right here, and then here is what Alp is seeing right here. And then you can see that Alp is only seeing the EMEA North region, which is these 3 organizations right here. And then finally, when we look at Ishan, who has the highest level role, which is everything, when we type in Ishan, and then he comes in here, and we hit apply, and again, we can see he has the same email address right here, and we hit apply, you can see that Ishan has access to all the different organizations. So you can see that here's all the organizations Ishan has access to. So now that we have tested this role, we now are confident that the report from a security perspective is going to work for any individual a part of any sort of organizational level that we need. So whether it's an analyst that needs access to one organization, a region director, manager who needs access to multiple regions or one region, which is comprised of multiple organizations, or a VP or a higher level that needs access to everything, we can handle any of that. And it can be as many levels of an organizational hierarchy as you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please be sure to like it, subscribe. And if you have other situations of problems or challenges you're dealing with, we love to hear about it. So please feel free to comment on it in the comments field in the YouTube video below. Please be sure to check out our newsletters as well as our free ebooks on Power BI for Finance in the description below. And if you like this content, please be sure to check out our website. That's fpautomation.co. And feel free to contact us if you have any questions or you have any challenges that you're looking to accomplish. Thank you, and this is Alp Actins with FP and Automation signing out.